I love bags. I have a bunch of them that I've collected over the years, all for various purposes. And today I'm gonna share with you my latest bag. It is the Peter McKinnon Camera Backpack, 25 liters, in case you're wondering. It is the bag that I chose to carry around with me last week when I was in New York City, covering about 10.5 miles a day walking, plus extra riding the subway or just sitting hanging around. The last time I traveled to New York City was about 2 years ago, and for that trip I chose to take the Peak Design 20-liter everyday carry backpack. Now that is a great bag. I love the design and utility of it. I loved pretty much everything about it, except for one thing. It really killed my shoulder. I ended up developing some serious neck pain and headaches as a result of carrying that bag around the city for the whole week. Because of that, I ended up stopping at a Fjallraven store, and yes, I know I'm not pronouncing that correctly, and picking up an extremely light everyday backpack, of course in orange. Now this thing is feather light compared to that Peak Design bag, and I could have continued to use that for this trip. But there's a major problem with this bag, and that is it's not really great for carrying around tech, such as my laptop and camera that I want to carry around with me in New York City this trip. So instead, I picked up the Peter McKinnon Camera Backpack, which you see here. And in short, if you don't care about the rest of the review, let's just end it here and say it worked phenomenally. There are a couple things I don't like about the bag, but as far as my main concern, which is carrying a whole bunch of tech gear and other stuff that weighed about 18 pounds total for the entire week without hurting my shoulders and neck, this bag performed like a champ. It has very nice padded straps. Between the padded shoulder straps, the sternum strap, as well as this textured back, this bag is the most comfortable everyday carry backpack that I've ever used. This textured back is really cool. Okay, it's less of a texture and more a series of bumps and valleys that serve to keep the backpack lifted up off your back. And yes, my back did get sweaty, but it never felt incredibly hot and disgusting because of this elevated pattern which allowed air to flow through. Okay, let's walk through some of the features of this bag as well as give you a demonstration of what my usual daily pack out would have been while in New York City. First up, every day I carried a liter of water with me. Now these are not the water bottles that I used while I was there. I just used a disposable water bottle, but these two water bottles on the side are 1 liter total and make up that total weight. After pulling those out, I will point out a really cool feature of this bag, and that is these side pockets. Now they're really deep pockets and I never had any trouble with anything falling out, but if you do have something that's extra tall, like a couple of gifts I brought home on this trip, you have this attachable clip here, which will allow you to secure whatever it is you're carrying. At the same time, instead of having these just flop around all the time, they have these cool little magnets built in, so if they're not in use, they just snap shut and will stay shut for the duration of your day. They did come unflapped for me from time to time, and so I wish this little magnetic strip here was a little bit extra longer to provide a secure fit, or at least stronger magnets, but all in all, really cool and very well done. Now, as you probably saw on the front of the bag, there is an additional strap that you can attach here, allowing you to attach stuff to the back of the bag, such as a rain jacket or a coat that you don't want to carry around inside the bag. I definitely use that a couple of the days. Going around to the back, we can talk about some of the comfort features that I noted earlier. As I said, both of these shoulder straps have ample amounts of padding. There is, of course, a built-in sternum strap, as well as this sequence of mountains and valleys, which I found really refreshing and allowed air to flow and keep my back relatively cool during the long days. Now, as this was WWDC week, and that was the primary reason I was getting together with my friend in New York City so that we could watch the keynote and some of the sessions together, I wanted to carry my laptop with me every single day. The Peter McKinnon camera bag has a dedicated slot that fits up to a 15-inch laptop. Now, I only have a 14-inch laptop, and so there is ample room to spare in here, but it was well protected with nice padding on both sides and kept it compartmentalized for easy access whenever I wanted it. Now, as this is designed as a camera backpack, there are two main ways you can access the bag. The first is you can unzip the complete back and flip it open to pull out whatever gear you have inside. The other is via this top portion, which unzips nicely. We'll start with that. If you unzip it, you can keep things handy that you want accessed quickly, such as your phone, wallet, or a bunch of little cables I found handy to carry around with me throughout the day for recharging my devices. In the main portion of that pocket, though, is where I carried my camera with me, as well as a notebook for taking notes on the session, as well as general daily planning. And then, of course, my iPad mini, which acted not only as a larger screen iOS device, or as a rechargeable battery for my phone, which would frequently die before the day was up. Now, in addition to that, there are two little side pockets that you can slip things into. I didn't really have any use for these, but they are a great place to store extra memory cards or filters or stuff like that if you are using this as a camera bag. Now let's flip this around and open up the main compartment of the backpack. It just unzips from the top, and this is my first and relatively minor complaint about the bag, and that is you can see both compartment zippers approach the top at the same location, and oftentimes they will interact with one another in not pleasant ways, so I would frequently keep the top section, which we just looked at, zipped over to the side. Anyway, let's open up the back, flip it open, and you can see what my daily carry would look like. But before getting to that, let's look over here, where I have an Apple AirTag in one of the two zippered mesh compartments, which are great for storing things such as cables or other accessories that you want frequent access but don't want to get them lost in a large compartment of the bag. Let's go back to that main compartment. Now here you can see an older pair of jeans as well as a new pair of jeans, and this is just kind of a demonstration of what my typical shopping would have looked like for the day. Yes, the jeans was a new pair, but frequently I would also have an extra pair of shirt with it, or if I was not getting clothes that day, I might have some Japanese sweets or other camera gear from B&H Photo. But all in all, this is roughly the weight that I would carry from my purchases of the day. In addition to that, I had some filming and camera gear with me, such as a spare 28mm lens, which I never actually got around to using, a mic for my iPhone, an extra light, as well as this really cool handy travel tripod / selfie stick. And that altogether 18.4 pounds in weight, meaning that my daily weight was probably between 17.5 and 18.5 pounds that I carried every single day, backpack weight included, of course. And as I said, last trip to New York City 2 years ago, I carried less than this in weight, and the Peak Design backpack really hurt my shoulders. This I had no problem whatsoever. But let's go back to the backpack and talk about a couple of extra features. Firstly, as this is principally designed as a camera backpack, there are camera cubes that you can purchase to add inside the bag for added protection as well as organization. I have a pair of the smaller ones, which you can see right here. Now these are great because they do keep camera gear nicely well organized and protected during a day's travels, but I did not use them for this trip because, as you saw, the camera that I did choose to take with me was significantly smaller and not needed. Instead, I just kept that in the top section up here. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm ever going to get around to actually using these camera cubes or this backpack as originally designed. As you may have seen in one of my previous videos, my main camera, the camera that I'm filming this on right now, is my Nikon Z9. As that is a body with an integrated grip, unfortunately it doesn't fit in the depth of this bag. It is uncomfortable to carry because it bulges out a bit and sticks into my back. Plus, if I was to really use this as an adventure bag, I probably would have this 100 to 400 lens attached to the body, and as you can see, it really barely fits here on its own, let alone actually attached to the camera. Instead, as mentioned, I'll just use one of my other adventure backpacks for that. If Nikon ever does release a camera with similar specs to the Z9, such as a Z8 without an integrated grip, which I switched to, then this bag will become much more usable to me. Let's take these out and talk about the bag's final feature that I want to mention, and the one I am most excited about. And that is this right here. You can see there is a little pull loop here, and if you pull it, boom, that top section increases in space, still giving you enough space for one of the camera cubes at the bottom. This is a great design decision on the part of Nomatic. Out of the two configurations, I really prefer it closed though. This gives me larger bulk storage down here that I can carry days things, plus this smaller section up top where I can keep things like my camera, my iPhone, or my notebook, things I want to access frequently throughout the day. I love this setup for a city bag where I'm carrying a small camera that I want to access quickly. Unfortunately, even though this is my favorite feature, it is also the thing that I dislike most about the bag. If the bottom compartment is relatively empty and there is nothing supporting the shelf, then the shelf does tend to collapse under the weight of the things that you push in there. This made it really inconvenient sometimes throughout the day before I had done shopping when I had my camera, iPad, and notebook up there, and they'd fall down, making it harder to get from the top access pouch. You'll see Nomatic added this fastener system here, allowing you to completely remove this shelf mechanism here and just leave it as a large open cavernous bag. I do like the shelf, however I wish Nomatic added an extra one of these down here so that you could attach it and fix that shelf in place. To get around this, I just used some of the camera cube dividers and velcroed them onto the bottom of the shelf and the side of the bag. While it is inelegant, it did prevent the shelf from collapsing. And really, that and the zipper placement are my only two big complaints from the bag. Now, because of the shorter depth of these camera cubes, it just will not fit my Nikon Z9 or any modern mirrorless camera with an attached grip. Now, because of this, it won't be the bag that I choose to carry when I go out to do some wildlife shots or stuff with the family when I'm taking the Z9 with me. Instead, I have a separate backpack that I use for that more adventure photography that I can talk about in a later video. What this bag is great for though, even with the minor inconvenience of that falling shelf, is for exactly the purpose I put it to. An everyday tech/camera bag that you want to carry around the city and just feel great while doing it. So definitely a great job, well done to both Nomatic and Peter McKinnon in designing this bag. It is most definitely going to stay in my collection. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you stick around for the next one. Talk to you later. Bye. Between Do I want to do that today? I don't know.